If you have a dog, the chances are you gave quite a bit of thought to your dog's name. It's important to choose a good name for your pet. And one thing you have to be sure of is that it's a name you can call out in a loud voice, because you're going to be hollering that name a lot. At least you will if your dog is anything like my dog, or anything like the dogs in this story. It's a story about an old woman named Doña Celestina. She lived in an adobe house in a tiny village up in the mountains. Her children and her grandchildren had all moved away to the city. Her husband, Ambrosio, que descanse en paz, he had gone on to mejor mundo. But the old woman was cheerful. She was happy with her life. She spent her days embroidering colchas, tending the flowers she liked to plant in front of her house, and cooking good food which she loved to share with her neighbors up and down the road. Whenever she would show up at a neighbor's house with a plate of food, they would say, "Gracias, Doña Celestina." "Thank you," they would say, "but you should eat this food yourself. Look at you. Usted no es más que huesos y pellejo. You're nothing but skin and bones." The old woman would laugh and wave her hand. She would tell them, "No se preocupen por mí. Don't worry about me," she would say. "I'm as strong as a horse and as happy as a honeybee in a field of flowers." But the truth is, she was sometimes a little bit lonely and sad, especially on long, cold winter evenings. So when she heard that her compadre Tomas had a dog that had given birth to a litter of puppies, she thought she might adopt one of those dogs. A pet would be just the company she needed on long winter evenings. The next day when she was returning from the village, she stopped by her compadre's house, and Tomas led her out to the barn to see the puppies. There were 2 black puppies and 2 white ones. One black puppy was fat and frisky. The other one was thin and very weak looking. And in the same way, there was one fat white puppy and one scrawny one. Tomas picked up one of the chubby little puppies. He said, "This one will make a good pet for you." And then he pointed at the thin dogs. He said, "I don't think you will want one of those. No son más que huesos y pellejo. They're nothing but skin and bones." And the old woman laughed. "Oh, eso es lo que me dicen de mí. That's what they say about me," she said. "But you're right. I don't want one of those skinny dogs. I want them both. And I know what I'm going to call them. Huesos y Pellejo. The white one will be Huesos because bones are white, and the black one will be Pellejo." And just to make sure she had made a good choice, she brought her hands up to her mouth and called out the names, "Huesos, Pellejo." The 2 skinny dogs came running to her as if they already knew their names. She laughed and gathered up her pets and carried them home. She gave her dogs lots of good food and lots of love, and they were not skin and bones for long. They grew up into two big, strong, healthy dogs. They spent their days running through the fields, jumping over fences, chasing rabbits, digging up gophers, running squirrels up the trees. But whenever Doña Celestina would step outside and call out, Huesos, Pellejo, they would come running to her. If she had to go to the little store in the village, maybe to buy some needles or thread, or a little bit of comino to add to her green chili stew, she would step outside and call out, Huesos, Pellejo. Her dogs would come running to her and walk beside her into the village. They would lie outside the door while she did her shopping. Or when she went to the little village church for Mass on Sunday, she would call out, Huesos, Pellejo. They would accompany her to the church and sit like two statues on either side of the door until she came out. Everywhere the old lady went, her good dogs went with her. Now in that little village, just as in any village anywhere, there were some people who liked to gossip and spread rumors. One of the things they said about this old lady was that even though she looked very poor, she really had piles of money, maybe even gold and silver, hidden in her little adobe house. And in that little village, just as in any village anywhere, there were many good people. And there were just a few people who were not so good. There was even a thief or two. And the rumor of the old woman's riches reached the ears of one of those not so good people. He decided he had better investigate. If he could find her money, he would help himself to it and go off to live an easy life in a faraway city. Well, one day the old woman had some business to do in the village, so she got all dressed in her best dress. She stepped outside and called out, Huesos, Pellejo. And her faithful dogs came running to her side. They walked beside her off down the road toward the village. The old woman didn't notice the man who was hiding behind a bush not far from the road. Her dogs knew he was there, but they didn't pay any attention. That man was the thief. And as soon as the old woman and her dogs had gone down the road, he came out of his hiding place and went to the house. The door was unlocked. Of course, no one locked their doors back in those days. He went into the house and started searching. He looked behind the jars of apricot and peach jam in the cupboard. Nothing. He pounded the adobe walls, listening for a hollow sound. Nada. He looked in the pockets of the coat that was hanging in the corner. Not a thing. He looked behind the door. No treasure there. He squeezed the cushions of the one soft chair in the house. No. He looked under the mattress. He was on his hands and knees, looking under the bed, when he heard the old woman's voice outside. She said, "Thank you, my good dogs. Thank you for accompanying me to the village. Now run off and have some fun." He crawled under the bed just as Doña Celestina came through the door. She was tired from her walk, and she sat down in the soft chair to rest. But as she looked around the room, she began to notice things did not look exactly right. A door of the cupboard was a little bit ajar. The wire screen had been moved aside a bit from the fireplace in the corner. The quilt was rumpled up on the bed, and sticking out from under the bed was the sole of a man's shoe. She started to cry out, but then she stopped herself. She thought, oh, why did I let my dogs run away just when I needed them the most? But that old woman was very wise, and she thought of a good plan. She started talking to herself softly. She said, oh, I'm so tired. My poor feet are aching. She reached down and untied her shoes. As she rubbed her foot, she said, oh, my poor old feet. They've grown so withered and thin. Oh, look at these legs of mine. They used to be so strong, and they've gotten so weak. It's true what the people say. I'm nothing but skin and bones. No soy más que huesos y pellejo. She raised her hands and sighed to herself. I'm skin and bones, soy huesos y pellejo. She took a deep breath and she moaned, huesos y pellejo. Out in the field, the big dogs stopped. They pricked up their ears. They forgot about the rabbit they were chasing. They turned and came running back to the house. They pushed the door open and came tumbling inside. And the old woman pointed at the shoe under the bed. Her dogs knew what to do. With their white teeth shining, they went diving under the bed, growling and snarling. The thief came crawling out backwards with the two dogs climbing all over him. He struggled to make it to the door. He ran away down the road, those dogs right at his heels. By the time they stopped and went running back to the house, the thief still had all of his huesos, but he was missing a few good-sized chunks of pellejo. He didn't even stop in the village. He kept right on going, and he was never seen around there again. Of course, Doña Celestina told everybody in the town what her dogs had done, and the people were so proud of those good dogs that the village wood carver got busy and made 2 big life-size statues of dogs. He painted one of them white and the other one black, and he placed them on either side of the door of the little village church. If you ever happen to visit that village, you can still see those wooden statues by the church door. They're all cracked and weather-beaten. The paint has faded away. But if you happen to see one of the folks from the town walking by, and you ask that person why those 2 statues are there by the church door, they'll probably stop and take a deep breath and bring their hands to their mouth and holler, Huesos Pellejo! And then they will tell you the story that I have just told to you.